All right. Um, let's see. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me okay, Kate?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. Today's guest is Kate Saba, a laboratory information system manager, a mother, and a passionate storyteller with a deep desire to bring light to her upbringing in the former USSR. I met Kate at the podcast summit in Atlanta this year, and within minutes of our conversation, I knew her story needed to be shared. Her journey is one of resilience, faith, and purpose, and I am honored to welcome her to God is My GPS. Welcome, Kate, to the podcast. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad you've taken an opportunity to do this with me. This is
Thank
like gonna be so fun. Like, I'm so excited to hear your
thank
story. Like,
thank you so much, Tamara. I appreciate it.
you're
It's a really delight to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, just to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about who you are and the story behind your journey?
Absolutely. By the way, I love the name of your podcast. God is my GPS. What a beautiful uh, summary of just encompassing so much in that title. So, a little bit about me. I grew up in the former Soviet Union, was born and raised there, and then had an opportunity to come to the United States in late 90s, right after the fall of the USSR. And I fell in love with the culture, the people. It was just such a different, I don't want to say beautiful society, but most importantly, I loved the kindness that everybody had, and people smiled and welcomed me, and that's what I fell in love with. And then that's when I made a decision that I wanted to stay here. And of course, thank to God and my prayers, I was able to uh, permanently move here to United States. I've lived in Minnesota for a couple of years, then joined the military and traveled mostly on the East Coast, and then settled in Virginia after the honorable discharge, and then have been working in the laboratory field. And right now I'm in the basically lab IT, doing laboratory information systems. I love my job. I have beautiful family. Feel very, very blessed to have my husband and my kids. So I really have been very, very fortunate. But of course, as your title says, we have a GPS, our guide, and every step of the way, I know a higher being has been helping me pave the way. And just to give you a little bit more of a background where I come from, and for you listeners to understand, especially how important this was for me to be in this country, is in the Soviet Union. And by the way, Soviet Union, USSR was around between 1922 and 1991 when it fell apart. Only 6 to 9 years, not a huge long period, but it had such a big impact, not only on the people who lived in the Soviet Union, but globally. So one part that a lot of people might not realize is that religious was forbidden. It wasn't just
Mhm.
discouraged, it was illegal. I mean, can you imagine living here in the United States where, my kids go to Catholic school. I'm proud to tell people that I'm spiritual, that I believe in God, that God is part of my life. And I cherish it every day that I don't have to be afraid to say that. Where in USSR, until the fall of the Soviet Union, you could not even fathom saying that.
Right.
Moreover, um, I hope I'm not going too far ahead, but moreover, my mom, I remember the story my mom told me when she was a teenager, and everybody had to be part of the Communist Party. It wasn't a choice or a decision. Of course, it was presented as a choice and a decision, but you knew better not to follow suit and take on the whatever all the masses were doing. So she had to be part of the Communist Party, and part of her duties as a young pioneer when she was a teenager was to hide in the bushes in some of the villages and watch through binoculars to see who is going into church, because there's some churches left in the countryside. The
Wow.
cities, all the churches were just destroyed or turned into warehouses. There were thousands of churches. Russia and the Soviet republics have beautiful history with really strong religion and absolutely gorgeous churches. They were all either completely destroyed or turned into warehouses. So a few churches in the country that were still operating they kind of allowed old ladies to continue going to church and didn't bother them so much. But she had
Okay.
to sit there with binoculars and watch to see if there was somebody from the Communist Party or somebody from the younger
Mm,
generation going in. And she had a strong belief. Her faith was very strong inside her. So she was a believer herself, but she still had to abide by the rules and had to, of course, she never wrote anybody up, but just the fact that she had to sit there and kind of keep watch to see who's going to church. Um, so that's, and then when my first time when she introduced God to me, I was about 6 or 7. I remember it was right before the first grade started. It was a concept that was really hard for me to, I mean, for any kid, especially if you haven't heard it. I remember to the day the conversation we had. She sat me down, and I know it was summer because it was just before school started. She explained what God is, that it's a higher being that helps guide us through in life, that we say our prayers. They're angels, they hear our prayers. But she said, you cannot tell anybody. That has to be kept as a secret.
mm,
So, so I'm but at the same time, she said, you can, if somebody asks you if you believe in God, you can never say no because that would be a sin. So it was always kind of a fear where I was so afraid if somebody asked me if you believe in God or not, because I couldn't say no, but I couldn't say
right.
yes. And and I remember there was one time in class, a teacher said, basically, we were talking about the Communist Party and all our beliefs, and she asked somebody in class in general, does anybody believe in God? Just to make sure that, God forbid, there would be that one person that we need to discipline or brainwash, right? Get that ideology straight.
Right.
And so I'm sitting there like hoping she doesn't call me, or I'm just keeping my mouth shut because I'm not saying no. I'm not saying yes. So then there's this guy in the back holding his hand out. I'm like, oh my, what is he gonna say? Jumping out of his seat. She's like calling him, oh, what? She's like, there is no God. There is no God. So he was well brainwashed. But the it was during the USSR times, the atheism is what was, if I don't want to say official ideology, but atheism is basically what was promoted. Um,
Okay.
so the reason they did that is basically for control. So they wanted to have, they did not want religious education to affect any part of the country. They wanted to promote education, career, loyalty to the party, and belief in God was seen as incompatible with loyalty to the state, basically.
Okay.
So, in fact, what I remember Lenin was saying is it was officially opiate of the masses. So the
Mm,
religion in the Soviet Union was viewed as the drug. And if you look historically, there's so many wars, so many conflicts because people would be so driven by religion, which is good in a way. So the Soviet government did not want to have this upheaval of people that would be motivated by religion and would be protesting against the government.
okay.
So yeah, it's really very very interesting. I came when I first came to America, and I was telling my story just briefly that because people were asking me how was your religion upbringing, and I really couldn't tell them much. I said, well, I believe in God, but I can't really tell you I belong to any particular religion. I kind of tell them
Right.
I'm a nobody, which I don't feel like that. Believe
Right. Right.
I was baptized in secret as a Russian Orthodox,
Okay.
but I've been in church maybe twice in my life.
Okay.
Only twice in my life. And it was a beautiful Orthodox church. I remember to the day the beautiful singing, the beautiful icons. Um, yes, I was brought there during the Soviet times in secret, deep in the country, where nobody knew us. So my mom, in secret, brought me there to baptize me when I was young. And then I did go back again after the fall of the Soviet Union, when it was open.
Okay.
And now religion is actually thriving, and churches are remodeled and renovated, and I'm so happy to see that I'm just very proud of the people out there that kept that religion alive
Hmm.
underground in secret. And there comes again, circles again, that God, you cannot take God away. God is
Right.
always there. So
That's amazing. Like I'm getting like goosebumps like listening to it because as you're speaking, I feel like I see the Bible come alive because
Yeah,
there's that whole little part with Jesus and the whole idea of getting rid of Jesus was because they
yes.
thought he would overthrow the government, right?
Right,
And
because you have that
so,
belonging, right?
right.
Belonging when you go to church, you feel that warmth and they want you to belong to the party and not to
Mhm.
the church.
To yes, yes. And so, and it's funny because there's a song that used to that a gospel song, and it used to I think it started off, "I'm just a nobody trying to tell everybody about somebody, which would be Jesus." And but as you're speaking, the Bible says that we're all fearfully and wonderfully made. And so to think of that from a high level, I don't think that sometimes the majority of us, even though we're believers, we probably can't even comprehend what that really means to him. And so it's a beautiful uh it's a beautiful part of your story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And
Can you tell me about how that environment shaped you, like even today?
yeah, it's a great question. Not having that, not going to church, had me not at the beginning. I couldn't really understand the churchgoers, and I thought, when I first started going to church, when I came to America, I was with the host family, and they were Baptists, and I did go to church with them, and it took me a few years to really kind of connect and understand church in a way. And honestly, I didn't quite comprehend until I got older and had my own kids, where
Okay.
I start to really see that, because when I'll go to church, like, well, I already know all this. I can read the Bible by myself.
Hmm.
I can get all this sitting at home in my pajamas. Why do I need to get up and get dressed and and go to church, right? But then as I started going, I started to realize that this is where you're together with the people that you belong to, that people that are welcoming you, that they're there to support you. So that part I was missing for many years, and that really
Okay.
impacted me. I would say, I don't want to say any lesson you learn is, I look at it as a positive experience. It
Okay.
just take a little longer to learn our lessons. But I do want to tell you that the fact that my mom taught me to have those prayers,
Hmm.
to believe in a higher being, and you know, there is there's so many religions out there.
Hmm.
Um, then and it's really when I did a little bit of research from like the scientific side, and it's
Okay.
very fascinating research by Dr. Lisa Miller. She's at Columbia University. In fact, I've heard about her from a podcast. As you can
Okay.
tell, I love podcasts. Mel Robbins podcast, we had her interview. So Mel Robbins interviewed Lisa Miller. That's where I
Oh,
got this
okay.
information. Highly recommend, by the way. So what she did is she was a psychiatrist for many years, and then when she was working on her PhD, most of the psychiatry work is looking at how your thoughts are formulating what's going inside of you. So she had actually this epiphany where, okay, are the thoughts truly formulated, or is it something else different? Because there's some studies done where they looked at groups of people that had kind of like a spiritual experience. They looked at
Okay.
a group that was in church praying, like arduously praying. Then they looked at people that were Catholic, Muslim, different religions, and they had that experience of connection with God. And then they looked at the group of people who were just having this experience out in nature, like when you go to Alaska and you see this northern light and you go, wow. And I had those experiences where one time me and my son go outside and we look out in the sky and it's just absolutely beautiful, gorgeous sky out there with
Hmm.
just this beautiful lights just from the sun and the sun rays coming down. And we both in awe stood there and looked, and I said, okay, this is God. And, he's in Catholic school. We raised him with faith. And he looked and said, yes, mommy, this is God. So, you just have those moments and you start to notice that. So when they did this study, they measured brain activity. And what they
Hmm.
found out is in that brain imaging studies, there are certain neural networks that are consistently activated during prayer, meditation, or what people
Hmm.
describe as a divine or transcendent experiences, like the one I
Hmm.
was with nature, for example. So what they found is that what that study proved is that because the same network was firing and activated, that basically proves that we all have the ability uh, biologically to receive that divine. So basically saying that humans are biologically wired for spirituality,
Right.
and the brain is prepared to receive something beyond the self. And
Right.
this is something that you cannot dispute.
Right.
It's been shown scientifically. So what she was saying is that a lot of the thoughts that we have are not necessarily formulated in the brain, but are received. A lot of the thoughts are received.
Hmm.
And I pondered on that for a while, and I remember, and I went back through some things that took place in my life. And after there's certain moments when I would be at crossroads, for example, not sure, okay, should I do this? Should I do that? And if I take a moment to just meditate or ask God, the divine, the universe, however you want to call that higher being, I would say, I would have some thoughts come into my mind. And
Hmm.
if I just take a moment and I actually listen to those thoughts and be like, okay, what I want to say, what does my common sense say? Taking in those cues, it was always the right decision. Sometimes it might not have been the decision that I wanted to hear, especially if it sometimes has to do with relationships where you don't
Right.
necessarily want to hear, yes, you probably shouldn't be in that relationship. But you know deep down inside because you are receiving those thoughts.
Hmm.
And I'll give you another example. Just not that long ago, about maybe less than a year, I've been at the same job for like 22 years. And
Whoa.
I had
Okay.
some moments where, I'm like, I gotta get out. I gotta move on. Like my inside is like, I know I can do more.
Hmm.
I know I have more potential. I'm already at the ceiling. I kind of hit my max there. I know I'm not gonna
Hmm.
get promoted, and it's not all about money, but I knew I couldn't make any more. But I really felt like I wasn't growing. I wasn't learning anything. And I had a moment where I worked very hard on a project and some things fell through, and I closed my office and I was in tears. I was in absolute tears,
Hmm.
devastated. And I just kind of half prayed, half just like begged God, Father. I just literally said, uh, Father, my God, please help me. Please hear my prayers. I was just in so much despair, just uh, almost grieving. And
Hmm.
believe it or not, seriously, I didn't think anything of it. The next day, I got an email from LinkedIn offering me, saying if I'm interested in a particular position and all the keywords in that position, and it's a very niche job that I'm working in that has a very particular skill set that I required. And that was
Okay.
getting exactly what my skill set was. So I answered back right away, still not believing it, still kind of
Right.
like, this couldn't be possible. Yesterday I was crying my eyes out, and today I'm having this person reach out to me, and one thing after another. And I'm telling you, within 2 weeks I had an interview, and a week later I had a second interview, and I had a job offer in less than a month.
Wow. Wow.
That
That's amazing.
100% those rare, because 100% you have those vibrations coming into the universe. And I hear there's so much on YouTube where they're talking about it's so important what you think. Your thoughts obviously can materialize, that the universe can hear you. And those are very popular, but I kind of feel like, well, it's the same thing as a prayer. And it's not
Hmm.
that I feel like it is the same thing as a
Right.
prayer. The science have proven that it's the same receptors in your brain that are fired up when you pray. So I'm really glad that you are, standing strong and naming your podcast that God is my GPS, and you're calling it what it is.
Okay. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
anyway, so I just thought about that. I'm like, we're all watching this video about sending this into the universe, but it's the same thing as God.
Right. It's the same thing as God. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There,
You can call
and
it what you want.
I'm with you in the science, that the science does lead us to God, and that
Absolutely.
we were created to worship something. And so many of us, like in society, it may be drugs, it may be, but there's something that we desire. And a lot of society, not just in America, but like you said, the US, like they're trying to train us to desire them
Yes,
opposed to desiring the higher power, opposed
absolutely.
to desiring God and reaching out to God. And it sounds like you're very intuitive. So even though you weren't going to church, you knew, like, I believe in God, I
Yes,
love God, I see God in nature, I see God in my children. And when you're in a rock and a hard place or you're going through things, your first inkling is to cry out to God, opposed to retreating, because many people will retreat and try to find candy, little trinkets in
yes,
life, and then wondering why they're not moving forward. And so God has a special way, I believe, in speaking to all of us. For years I would say God would speak to me in my dreams because I was so busy.
wow.
And I'm like, why do I keep having these dreams? So he
Yes,
does have a way of speaking to us and getting our
absolutely.
attention and reminding us who he is and reminding us that he loves us and reminding us,
Yes,
despite the environments that we're in, that we still should have hope, that he is the savior.
100%.
And so the fact that you came all the way from the USSR to America, that is
Right.
just like mind blowing. And the things that you and your family had to endure,
Thank
um,
you.
and your mom like planting those seeds early
Yes,
on. So
yes,
now you can plant those seeds in your children, which is
absolutely.
which is so crucial. And I think in America, we take God for granted.
Yes, yes.
We the fact that you have to hide your belief even as a child. And I always say, like, I was born in the right era because I am naturally like bold. I don't try to be, but I'm just like, no, I'm not doing that. And
Good for
my mom
you.
like, you can't. I'm like,
Good for
mm-mm.
you. I
I'm like,
applaud
i'm
that.
not i'm not interested. And even at work sometimes I'm like, I don't know how many times every job I've worked at, somebody has tried to get me fired. And I'd be like, okay,
You know
whatever.
what? Because you have that faith, that strong foundation.
Yeah.
You know you're loved. You know somebody is watching over you. You know you can ask for guidance, and that's another thing that studies have shown too. People who have the faith and belief, they're less likely to go through depression, much
Right.
lower rate there. And it
Yeah.
makes sense if I think about it. Whenever I have a tough moment, no matter what it is, whether it's something personal I'm going through or somebody looked at me funny and I'm,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I'll
You'd be
just,
like,
you
okay,
know what? I'm
trust
just gonna,
God.
I know God's got my back. So
Hmm.
that person did whatever, God will take care of it because
Right.
he knows what's right. He knows what's fair. It's not my place to
Hmm.
judge. It's not my place to, you know, be
Yeah. I just
vindictive,
be like,
obviously. I just trust God that he will take care of it. And if I'm having any, again, anytime I am at crossroads, I ask God for guidance
okay.
because there is another good example. For example, I've had times where I did everything right and I wanted to get something, and I worked for it, and I had the foundation for it. I studied for it, and it just wouldn't go through. It just I would
Okay.
push and it would not go through. This is already by now the hard way, by the way, learn that if something is not that I have to work so hard for it, then I probably shouldn't be going that way. So
Right.
I already learned it the hard way because the more I push, the more I'm getting kind of forced back, and then I get myself into more of a trouble where the God is nudging me. He's like, no, you can't, don't go this way. No, go that way. It's like you're trying to open that red door, and I'm going to quote
Hmm.
here Dr. Lisa Miller. She gave that example. So she had this beautiful example. It's like you try and open this red door and it just wouldn't budge. Well, you'd keep trying, but you turn 180 degrees and there's a yellow door.
Right.
And then you open that door and you walk in and it's like paradise there. You wouldn't know about this yellow door if you kept trying to open the red door. So, and God nudges us so many times. So, like you said, like your dreams. So, you just need to open your eyes and follow your dreams.
Hmm.
And I mean by dreams in so many ways too. So, yeah. So, yes, I'm. I'm totally there with you, where you got to speak up your mind. You have to listen to yourself and what's inside your heart. And yeah, and just trust in God, and know that even if it's something you think you should be doing, and if it's not going, if it's not flowing that way, you just got to trust the divine, that he sees more than you do.
Okay.
More than you do.
And so my other question is, who has been the most influential person in your life?
It's such a beautiful question. And oh, wow. Uh, Automatically, I'm thinking my mom. And then as I'm thinking more, of course, I'm sure anybody can relate, their parents, uh, huge influences. But to be honest with you, I remember so many moments that people that are not even, I don't even remember their names.
Yeah.
I'm ashamed to say that. I remember being with my friends at lunch, and I was going to college, and it was my first year. I wasn't sure what I was going to study. I had no idea what's going to happen, what's what. You're in America. I don't even have mentorship. I don't have any mentor. I didn't have my mom or my dad there to kind of like nudge me. And it was just me here as a foreign exchange student by myself, trying to figure the country out and the people out and the education system, and it was a lot. And this lady was a group of friends of ours, and she just dropped a few lines where about medical field and this and that, and how and my, this kind of stuck with me. And
Okay.
this is when I changed my major and went into the laboratory field, and then I went with computer fields too. But if she wasn't there at that moment to say those particular words to me, and if God didn't put me there to open my ears and be open-minded and receive that, honestly, things would have changed. And there are a lot of examples like that I have, that people. So what I'm trying to say is, a lot of people that who influenced me, in many cases, I wouldn't even notice. I can't
Right.
even tell you her name, that lady, but I'm thinking about her quite a bit. I'm like, God, I should have gotten her name just to thank her, because I'm glad I followed her one line that she dropped.
Right.
So yes, absolutely. And then, of course, my husband is definitely my rock, and I would say he's Catholic, so I'm really, it was very important for me to find somebody with good faith foundation. So I'm very grateful again that
Is he
God,
from the USSR?
he is,
Okay.
yeah, he's an American, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
Awesome.
so I actually I got out of the military. I got my citizenship while I was in the military, and then we met after I got out of the military, and that's why I stayed in Virginia. And
Okay.
my brought my mom and my brother. They're still in Minnesota, so we still kind of traveled to Minnesota to see my family who moved here. My father is still in Belarus, in the former Soviet Union.
Okay.
So yeah, and we did go back. I brought my kids to see him. Um,
Aw.
right before COVID hit. So I was really glad I could come out there before all this turbulence started, and
Yes.
now we didn't even go. But yeah, so that worked out really good. I'm also grateful that we came there, we left there right before COVID hit. So that was another blessing that we
Right.
worked out that way. So yeah, yeah.
Uh, th-
So a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people influenced me. And honestly, every day, if I think about it, we're so interchanged. I mean, there's so many people around. Just having this conversation with you is influencing me, because it solidifies in me that, yes, I thought about it. God is my GPS. Like, oh, yes, 100%. I gotta trust it more. Not,
mhm.
when I'm in crisis and I'm in tears and then I turn out to God, but I need to do it every day. And
Right.
I noticed when I do, like with the new job that I started, there's some challenges, not big
Mhm.
challenge, but any job you start, which is kind of a leap for me. And as I'm learning a lot, and it's of course a lot of responsibility, there are moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I need some help. I would just pray, and I would try to make sure I pray with my kids every night. I don't do it
Mhm.
every night. I should. I really wish I could tell you that we pray, but I am praying that I can pray every night. Let's put it that way. But when we do, 50% of the time, approximately, I always say that I ask for help with my job. I pray about my podcast. I pray
Mhm.
to make sure we're all safe. The nights that we do pray, I'm not kidding you. The nights that we do pray, the next day, I have a good day at work.
Yes.
I haven't told my kids, no, no, they may be tired. I'm like, no, we're saying our
We're gonna
20-second
pray.
prayer, because I need to have a good day at work tomorrow.
And so that is the
We laugh
key.
about it.
We have to like invite God into our day,
Absolutely.
into our lives, giving him
Absolutely.
permission, like, hey, come hang out with me.
Yes.
Hey, let's go to lunch.
Yeah.
God, let's
But
go to lunch
wait, but
together.
trust him because that's just because now with all these experiences and now the prayers have actually proven that the prayers have proven to me that when I do say prayers, things actually do like God gives me clues
Yes.
or signs, and it really makes a big difference.
So when you talk about like the military, would you say that was a defining or a turning point in your life?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it was a huge, it was um, again, every experience is a good experience. It was hard. It was very, very hard, especially at the beginning, because I felt like I've built a lot. Um, and then I had to kind of break it down in a way, especially psychologically, especially when you go
Okay.
through boot. So when you go through boot camp, they're trying to break you down.
Hmm.
And I was a very sensitive person. So the
Hmm.
breaking down I was taken personally for a while. But that was actually a good thing because in the long run, it made me stronger, of course. But that was tough. That was tough. But it was definitely a turning moment that did make me stronger. So I do believe that what doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
Right.
But yeah, it definitely put me on the map where I'm at
Okay.
because I was stationed in Virginia. So it definitely put me here for a reason because this is where I met my husband. This is where I kind of built my life and had my kids and obviously my life, everything here in Northern Virginia. So yeah, if it wasn't for military, I probably wouldn't be who I am and I wouldn't be where I am. And I probably wouldn't be flying to Georgia to meet you. So thank God for that.
Yeah, I remember it because you were right here, and I'm like, "Hey," I'm like, "Can
I
and you were like, "You want me to film you?" I'm like, "Yes, please." But me and my friend were over
appreciate
there. I don't.
that. I loved
Yeah,
every second of it.
we had
Well,
we had a good time. A good time.
absolutely, absolutely. So many just kind people, open, and I didn't have to like feel self-conscious coming and ask them and like trying like, oh my God, I need to tell them about my podcast. I have to there. I could just go like, yes, I have a podcast. And what's your
Right.
podcast? Hey, let's have a 10 minute, like a quick couple lines of videotaping we can take so I can put together. Oh, it was like freedom for me. So
Aw. I got to meet David Shands while I was there, and I
yeah.
was like, and I'm not nervous around people. Like my mentor does makeup for like Hollywood and stuff. So people like,
Nice.
what movie she working on? I'm like, She's like, what actress or actor? She was like, When I seen David Shands, I was like, there's the master right there. The master.
Nice.
He's gonna teach us everything. My friend was
Exactly.
like, who's the master? I was like, David Shands right there.
Hmm.
And so she was like, okay. But yeah, so definitely. Let's talk about like what keeps you motivated during challenging seasons. Um, when we talk about kind of like COVID was a weird time, I think, for everybody that
Yeah.
nobody's really talking about. And I think people are afraid to talk about it. And for me, I was in Virginia when COVID
Wow.
hit. And
Wow.
I still lived in Virginia. And I was in this apartment by myself. All my
Wow.
family was up in the north, and I was down in the south, well, sort of in the
Hmm.
south. And I remember, like, God, this apartment is so tiny. It is so dark in here. It feels like these
Hmm.
four walls are closing in.
Oh,
And I was like, and I don't know how I'm going to get through this.
hmm.
And I end up buying a sun lamp so that it
Hmm.
could give me this false sense of daylight and it was winter. So then it seemed like it got every day it just seemed dark. And so I'm sitting there in my chair, and I don't know if you know who Mr. Rogers is from Mr.
Yes.
Rogers' Neighborhood.
Yes.
And this song begins to play in my mind. It's a
Hmm.
beautiful day in the neighborhood. It's a
Yes.
beautiful day.
Oh
And
yeah,
I
my
was
kids
like,
playing that all the time. I do know that song. Yes.
and I was like, God, that must be you because I haven't watched Mr. Rogers and I done got no kids in many,
Yeah.
many years.
Oh
And
my
so,
God.
and I said, you know what? You're right, God. I'm going to play that song every morning. So for 1 month, I play that song every morning. It's a beautiful
Wow.
day in the neighborhood. And I just felt so
Wonderful.
happy. I felt so
Wow.
light. So even though my apartment was still dark, I felt light. I was like happy and rejuvenated. And I knew that God had given me that song. And all my friends call because they know like I'm a person of faith, and not all my friends are believers. And they were like, "What are you doing?" And they were like, well, how are you getting through this? And I'm like, oh, I'm painting. Oh, I'm learning how to
Being
cook
busy
some new recipes. Like it was no big deal to me. They were like, but
because
we
you're
don't know
faith.
how long we're going to be here. And I'm like, I don't
Because
care.
you know somebody out there loves you. Somebody's watching out for you.
Yes.
And when it's your time to go, it's your time to go. But you're doing
Yes.
everything right. You're not neglecting, obviously. And it's in his hands. It really is. It's in the hands of God, the divine. But I love that. I'm gonna have to play that song. This is awesome. I kind of felt I was working in the lab on the bench, so we were
Okay.
actually super busy because we got
Yeah.
inundated with the COVID samples, and we were
Right.
testing them. Actually, we had to come up with we didn't have instrumentation for COVID. They have to come up with those PCR machines very quickly, and we had to, talk about IT. It's not super easy as you just plug it
Yeah.
in. There's a whole world behind it to make sure you validate and all that. So we were swamped with work. We were beyond busy. Then, of course, as a mom and my kids, my oldest was just finishing kindergarten, and I
Oh.
was busy with his activities. Then I have a toddler, his brother, the younger brother. So I'm just like, oh my God, daycares are closing. I'm like panicking. So I didn't have time to think about COVID. I was there. I was like, what do you mean you can't take him to soccer? What do you mean he can't have his soccer? Why don't we just gonna sit at home and not practice? This is a disaster.
Yeah.
That was what's going on in my mind. But then, funny thing is too, I was actually going to put my son in a particular school. So I actually had this. I was at the crossroads before COVID hit as to which school to put him in. So
Okay.
I was choosing. I was going to either put him in public school, but I wanted it to be like with language. I wanted him to learn a foreign language. So there's all these choices.
Hmm.
Um, but when the schools closed, this is where I'm like, okay, I can't put him in virtual because I have to work. In
Right.
first grade, he's not going to be sitting online. It's just, first grader, older kids maybe, but it's not going to happen. I mean, my husband working remotely, and he can't really spend time with him. I can't even be there physically, so there's just no way I can let a first grader just pretty much skip a grade.
Right.
So this is when, and let me tell you, this is God really truly works for you. And I did pray, like I wholeheartedly prayed. Okay, and I worried about it, and I prayed about it every day. So I ran into somebody that I knew that lived in my neighborhood who I hardly ever talk, and I'm usually not the kind of personality. I'm more of an introvert. So for me to actually approach
Hmm.
somebody and talk to them, it's like I have to make myself do it. And I do it now with the podcast. I kind of feel like, okay, I need to do it. Once I connect with the person, it's no problem. But making that first connection is challenging for
Right.
me. And I just thought, okay, I need to say hi to him. I've seen him before. He lives in my neighborhood. I need to be polite and say hi to him. So I kind of like force myself to say hi. We talked, and as we're waiting in line for something, I asked him, "How's your son doing?" And he's like, "Oh, he's doing great." I'm like, "His school closed, and his son is just 1 year older, so I knew he's in second, to be starting second grade." So he tells me about this Catholic school he's in. I'm like, "Oh, they didn't close Catholic." He was like, "No, they didn't close Catholic schools." So I'm like, "Hmm." So I took down the name of that school, and that was it. That was the end of the conversation. I wish him to have a wonderful day, and he wished me a great day, and then off we parted. I called that school right away, and they're like, "Well, we don't have any room, but I will put you on the wait list." So they
Okay.
put my son on the wait list, and then I had my husband drop off paperwork. And I'm glad he went to drop off the paperwork because he made conversation with somebody who actually knew the neighbor. He's from Connecticut, so the lady there, she knew the area, so they made a nice conversation. So his name stuck in her head.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but they really liked, they kind of connected there. So I think she may have put the good word for us to the principal, because 3 days later she called me and she's like, "You know what? We found room for your son. He can start." this grade.
Oh.
It was just such a blessing, I'm telling you, because it was ideal. It was truly ideal because they were in person. It's exactly what I needed. And then the face part was what I didn't even expect. I was a
Mm-hmm.
little bit hesitant and worried a little at first, not having that religious upbringing. I wanted my kids to believe in God. I wanted them to be spiritual, but I didn't want it to be like indoctrinated. I was a little bit scared of that.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted them to find their own religion, and I hope that makes sense. I didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
impose the religion on them. I wanted to raise them with God in their heart and then decide where they want to belong.
Right.
So that was my initial thought. That's why I was a little bit hesitant to put them in like a Christian school or Catholic school. But that kind of happened, and I can totally see God's hand in it because they have such a great science foundation there. They have, their one religion class, and they say their
Mm-hmm.
prayers. So they're growing up with faith, but it's not indoctrinated. In fact, I'm very proud to say my kids are the one that say, "We're going to church on Sunday, right?" Oh, I'm like, "Well, but I have laundry to do." No, 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 Mom. We're going to church. Well, but look at the
I
house
have.
is a mess, Mom. We need to go to church. Like, well, I cannot come up with an excuse.
Right.
They
Right.
sure we go to church. So I feel so blessed. I mean, really.
Yeah. They're keeping you in line in
They're
terms of
keeping me and my
balancing.
husband in
Yeah.
line too. I mean, he's Catholic too, so I'm like, come
That's
on, we need
funny.
to go. It's like, well,
When
we're
I
gonna.
was in the second grade, um, so I always believed in God. My mom was similar to you. She didn't push religion. We didn't pray in the home. We didn't pray in the home. She didn't push religion though. She
Yeah.
said that she wanted us to find our own
Yes.
way.
Yes.
And so I had always believed in God. My earliest memories of second grade, I always believed in angels.
Yeah.
And I believe, like the cartoon, like there was a good angel and a bad angel,
Hmm.
and they were
Hmm.
both speaking. And
Yes. I love
I
that.
had the free will to figure out I'm going to listen to this one, I'm going to listen to
Uh-huh.
this one. And I remember asking my mom, that lady across the street, where is she going? And she said she's going to church. And I was like, what's that? And
Mm.
she was just like, you go. And I was like, well, asked her if I can go with her. So I was the only person in the house, the only person in my family for many years that went
Mm.
to church.
Wow.
And this lady would take me to church and things of that sort.
Mm.
And then we moved. And then I don't think I started going back to church until we moved when I was in the third grade. So I didn't start going back to church until I was 16. And I remember in the third grade, we went through a very hard time, like movie worthy hard times. And I remember saying to God as a third grader, why did you leave me? And I remember feeling like God's presence had left me. And I don't know if you ever seen the poem, The Footprints in the Sand. I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
footprints in the sand, let me pull it up real quick. So the footprints in the sand, because for years I was just like, God left me. Why would he do this? I don't feel his presence anymore because I literally could feel God's presence as a kid. And I would go into people's bathrooms, I would go to people's house, and this poem was always there. And so once again, God was speaking to me through this poem. And I said, well, maybe, and I would be in people's bathrooms crying. So it
Wow.
says, the footprints in the sand. One night I dreamed I was walking along the beach with the Lord. Many scenes from my life flashed across the sky. In each scene, I noticed footprints in the sand. Sometimes there were two sets of footprints, others times there were one set of footprints. This bothered me because I noticed that during the low periods of my life, when I was suffering from anguish, sorrow, or defeat, I could only see one set of footprints. So I asked, so I said to the Lord, you promised me, Lord, that if I followed you, you would walk with me always. But I had noticed that during those most those most trying periods of my life, there had only been one set of footprints in the sand. Why, when I needed you the most, you had not been there for me? The Lord replied, the times when you have seen only one footprint, one set of footprints, is when I was carrying you.
Oh,
And I would be in,
oh
look,
my
I'm
God.
crying now for
Oh my God.
for our
Now get
listeners.
me.
Tears in my eyes.
Oh my gosh. Now I get it.
Yeah.
Wow. I
And it
wasn't
was just like,
expecting that. Wow. I was
and it was
expecting,
just like,
because you left me.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
I'm thinking God left
Wow.
me, and God's like, no, it was so dark. It was so heavy. I was carrying you. Like, I
Mm,
never left you. I had you in my hands. And so when people, like, my experience with God is vastly different than everybody else's,
mm.
because to me, I didn't meet God in a church. And so
Yes.
when I became
Same here.
older with
Yeah,
a different level of
exactly.
consciousness, um, it was like I met another level of God, a different
Hmm.
side of God. And
Yes.
so I think in the midst of trials and tribulations, it's hard some days. And then other days, it's not. And so my mentor taught me that with God, you got to take it moment by moment.
Yes. Wow.
Don't just, when I was in Virginia, I adopted a Chinese family in my heart.
Right.
The young ladies were in middle school and high school, and I remember like leaving my job and frustrated, and one of the young ladies said to me, Tamara, you don't have a bad life, you have a bad moment.
There you
And
go.
I was like, these kids is get me together
100%. 100%. Wow. Oh,
out of the mouth of
I love
babes.
this.
So
I love this. Wow. It's just we have so much potential in our hearts, and just so important to be on the open to receive those words, to hear them, and to really digest them, I want to say. And
yes,
it's wow. Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, I can totally relate because I couldn't go to church either. I mean, you find God without church, and then you still
yeah.
come full circle.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
come full circle
absolutely.
because for me, I'm a Christian. So Christianity, when I think of it, is a lifestyle. And
Hmm.
so there's fellowship with God, there's fellowship with people. I think we need to be among other believers, but there's a sweet spot when it's just you and him. It's a sweet spot in your prayer
Yes,
time, as the lady was saying from a scientific standpoint.
yes,
Um, we do need community. We do need to be
absolutely.
around like kind, but we also need to make sure that we're grounded in our thinking, in our spirit with God, so that when these bad times show up, we
Yes.
know who's our anchor.
Oh, yes, totally. Yeah, God is definitely my anchor, and it he saved me so many times. And now that I finally am recognizing it, and after having all this experience, my eyes are finally open, and now I can really, even the smallest decision, like you say, moment by moment, I'm
Hmm.
grateful and I'm thanking him no matter what is going on, because he sees better than me. And if I cannot open that red door, I
Yeah.
know I shouldn't be pushing it. He's got a plan for me. I trust him because he has a plan for me.
Amen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
amen, for sure.
Let's talk about your podcast. So with your podcast that you're launching, that you've already launched,
Yes,
and I'll make sure that we put everything down in the description.
thank you.
How are you hoping that your voice will impact the world with your podcast?
So my podcast is called The Soviet Life, and my main goal, the reason I even started it, is kind of twofold. On one part, as the Soviet Union is gone, it has so many stories that are so unique and so interesting. So I wanted to archive. I wanted to have keep an archive of people's voices, not just
Hmm.
literally, but their stories, because
Yes.
as they leave our lives, we're not going to have those people who lived during those times ever
Yes.
again. Even if we have something similar, it's still not going to be USSR as it was. So I
Right.
wanted to first kind of archive that. Second of all, after the war with Ukraine started, There was just so many questions coming my way. What do I think about it? Where do I stand? Well, of course, I'm against the war. Of course, I don't want anybody dying on either side.
Hmm.
It is a very complicated situation, and I was honest with them. Look, I'm not on the ground. I really don't have the information. I really don't know, but I do know that on both sides people have good souls, and I know on both
Right.
sides they don't really want to harm each other. On each side they're trying to protect something that they hold on to. They're probably just getting a misinformation for the most part.
Right.
So, and so that's why I wanted to start a podcast to show the Western world, to show Americans, the soul, really the soul of people where I come from, the soul of the, not just the Russians, so, but, I'm from Belarus, but from Ukraine, all the Soviet republics, from Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Latvia, Lithuania. They all, we were kind of like one big family, yet we have our own identity. I mean, look at any family. We're our unique selves, yet we live together and we love each other. And, but, no, nobody's imposing and trying to change you who you are. You're completely different from, hey, I look at my three kids and they're like completely different, yet we're a family. So that's how it was in USSR. We were a family. And now that we fell apart, it's kind of sad. And then with what's going on now, I really, all I can do is my voice is to just show the soul, and mostly primarily to the Westerners. But now as I go on with it, I'm kind of seeing, I wanted to show it to the world, including our own people that are fighting now too. I wanted to show them, look, let's go back to the beginning. We're brothers. We really shouldn't be fighting. So that's what I'm hoping to accomplish with the stories and the podcast, and hopefully that will take place. I mean, hopefully it'll take off. Again, it's kind of slow moving right now because I have a job and the kids, but I'm not stressing about it. I'm taking one episode at a time when I can and publish it. I have quite a few that I just need to finish editing and publish. But that's coming along, and I'm in a good place right now. I'm very happy that I did this project finally. I wanted to do it for a while, so thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I just want people to know that nothing is what it seems to be. And I want people to look at everything with a grain of salt. If somebody is in dire situation, try to see the positive. Try to understand people more. So not just with a podcast, but just with my whole life, I just want to put the focus on people, connecting with people, knowing that you're loved, knowing that somebody's out there watching over you. And a hardest moment that I haven't mentioned that my husband went through. He lost his son to a tragic accident, and this is when it really shakes your face. This was the very difficult moment when you sit there. Okay, my son who was in his 20s is gone. Why, God, did you allow that? And and just to put it out there, I had a dream before my son was born, and his son who was in heaven in my dream said, told me exactly, today is going to be the birthday of your son. And it was so vivid and real that I was like, oh my gosh, you're here, you're alive. Let me grab your dad, let him know you're here, that you're not dead. And I was so happy. I was just so happy and delighted to see him. And he told me that and the phone rang, and that was it was a dream. I didn't realize it was a dream. And of course, the phone rang. I wake up, and I'm like, oh. And guess what? That was the day that my water broke, and I ended up giving birth. And then my older son was born that day that he came and out. So that to me is proof that there is something out there. So when God takes our loved ones, there is a reason they need to go to join Him. There's a higher purpose for that. But just trust in God, know that you're loved, and that's really the legacy I want to leave behind me. That I love you all, and we always have a guide. We all have a guide. We all have a purpose. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you for this podcast and this fantastic and very profound conversation. I loved every second of it. Oh, my pleasure. See you soon. Bye.